Finding yourself lost in finding ways to be found, getting into your mind, lost in the sheer emotion I guess you feel.
You
It's
mean like
just
through my music? Because obviously this is
yeah.
the first time we've talked and we've never even met. I
I
love
know.
that. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. That's
It's
very
a
sweet.
it's a great way to connect with people, and it's a really great way to build with audience, don't you feel?
I mean, I guess, we'll probably get into this in the interview, but it's honestly, I do believe that. I mean, I think that honesty is my strongest suit, because really that's what's going to make me, connect with people in the long term, right? It's like that's what will actually matter. I'm sorry, I'm like looking for stuff and I just think I just found it. I'm like, "Oh my god, is this it?" And it's like, "Yeah, I think this is it."
Multitasking at its finest.
Multitasking.
you were meant
Sorry.
you were mentioning earlier that you're originally from Mexico, and it, I'm actually curious how did you make your ways here to the United States and become a part of the art scene here in South Florida?
So I moved to Miami very young, at like
Okay.
the age of like 2. So I'm like,
Oh
I
wow.
basically grew up here, but my family is all Mexican, except for my mom's grandfather is Irish. And so
That's
he,
interesting.
he fell in love. It's a
Fun
really
Thanksgiving
crazy
dinners.
story. Yeah, unfortunately I never met him. I never met
Are
him.
you
But the love
serious?
story, yeah, I never met him, unfortunately.
Aww.
Yeah, it's sad. I think it would have been great to get to know him. My mom, tells a lot of lovely stories about him, and obviously he had a really hearty Irish accent, which I totally missed out on. Which is sad. And like he passed away way before it was like way before there were phones to record everything. It's not like today that you have like a million videos of people, saying
Right.
things, doing things, what their voice sounds like, what their hair looked like. It's crazy nowadays. There's so much information about people, and and back
Back in
then,
the
you had like silent, a Super 8 film that's like super grainy and like some photos.
that was
Yeah.
it. You had the
You
photo
have to just
albums to look out.
you have to build the character in your head a little bit. But yeah, so not to make it super sad, it's just like that's just the reality of life, I guess. I think I think part of in being Mexican, of taken in a lot of Mexican culture, and I think a huge theme in Mexican culture in general is that death and life are part of a balance, and it's not really,
Celebrated.
yeah, it's celebrated, and also death is something that we have to just accept. And I think that's why Mexicans are just in general so jovial. We have like such a bad rap because of, but Mexico's got a lot of problems. But I think Mexicans are some of the most wonderful, kind,
Great cooks.
great cooks, great food, great spirit. The Mexican spirit is a spirit of never ending pushing towards a better life, the best version of everything. I think that
I think
yeah.
just pointing out, I think one of the coolest things about Mexican culture you will not find in other is the link to Aztec. Just the sheer
Exactly. Yeah.
fact that
We're
comes
all
from that.
mixed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, oh my God. Because here you have to think about these are people that were the most creative, most outspoken geniuses, and they were in a place that hadn't been like nobody came there. Nobody. They were just there alone by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
so amazing.
I mean, you think I have some very controversial theories, well, feelings about, not, I don't know if they're necessarily theories, just like based on the truth that, you know, the Europeans, the only reason they won was because they were so filthy, and they gave all the Aztecs and the people living here diseases. Everyone died and
Wipe
lost,
them out.
and yeah, wiped them out through disease. It wasn't really their incredible fighting skills and their, absolute genius. They're so incredibly white and powerful. It's like, actually, it's kind of crazy because the reason they let them in the first place was because they thought that the person that first landed was Quetzalcoatl. And so there's these theories. So this is into going into theories that the first white man to land in Mexican land while there were Aztec people was a Viking, and he was a tall white man with blonde hair, you know,
Pretty
beautiful looking
stereotypical.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They look great. They have a good look going for them, the
They
Vikings,
die
and
with an
so
arrow being like thrown
yeah.
that's on fire.
Their
Yeah.
pecs have pecs. They're got like the six abs. They work out. Yeah, and that's just from like killing people. They don't even work out. That's just
You know what's,
just
by
from
the way,
swinging
do
around.
you want to hear something so funny I read about,
Yeah.
just quickly going off, like with
No, it's
Vikings,
fine.
when Vikings would fight in battle, they used to take
Mm.
shrooms, and
Oh wow, I believe
they were
that.
tripping balls. So the way that they were able to win was like just 5 over 100 was they were so high.
This
They they just went for
it's
it.
scary. Yeah, it's like, what the
They
fuck's
just
wrong with these guys?
and here you are. They're the first people to interact with Aztecs. Like,
Yeah, that's a theory, right? Because
that's
they
a theory.
thought they thought that he was Quetzalcoatl, right, which was the serpent god, and so they let him in, and because there was speak of this white man coming to the shores, and of this person of fair skin, and he's a god, and so they thought he was a god, and they opened their doors to him. And I think that there's theories about whether that was the first person, or whether they also thought the first white people that we claim to be the first, the Spanish, and I think it was the Spanish that landed in Mexico first. I'm not a history buff or anything like that, but
I
basically,
actually no, I think you're
yeah,
no, I think you are correct. I think the Spanish were. We
the
could fact
first to
check
land
this, but
there.
I'm too fucking
Yeah,
high in
yeah.
stone to check my phone.
Ah!
It's like literally right there.
Not fact checked.
Not
This is
fact
not
check.
fact checked.
No.
For any Facebook moderators listening, we did not fact check
We
this.
will troll your podcast, and we will go after. We'll go after you.
But yeah, they because they were also fair skin, it was kind of like they thought it was part of this prophecy, and so they let them in again. It's kind of like the Aztecs were too inviting of these people that just wanted to take everything, and they did. The only difference between the Spanish culture and the more Anglo culture is that the Anglos separated themselves because their whole white thing, and then the Spanish mixed. You know,
Here's a
which
theory
has
I've had.
actually made Mexico much stronger in bonds. Like, if you think about it, like our culture, Mexicans get along way better than Americans in general. It's just like
It's a difference of attitude and mentality, and I have. This is just a theory I've had. Um, One of the pushbacks I think that comes within war, and one of the reasons why war does happen, like with the Mexican War, you have now the Ukrainian War, and there's been so many others, is because people become too creative
mhm,
and they start thinking out of the box and they start being honest and they start voicing their opinions
yeah,
and it starts showing. And when that happens, can't let that happen, man.
yeah,
Gotta
yeah. I
shut that
think
down.
I think there's always a lot of people that they see change as the end of their kind of like their power reign or whatever. No, and so it's just like I gotta get in the way of anything that seems like change, because that could be less money for. Usually, it's a less money thing or less power. People just get in the way of change. But whatever. I mean, I live in Miami, so I deal with that all the time. Where are you based out of?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you
We're
have some
going
idea.
we're going real local with this podcast. I mean, hell yeah. I mean, first off, we are a Florida podcast, and best part, we have somebody here from Florida.
Indeed.
And I think the something I want to hear your opinion on, like touch base on, is when it comes to like the music scene out here and making music, because look, we live in an industry right now where we can be independent artists and make our own
Yeah.
music and have a lot more ease of flow, which is great. But from region to region, location to location, that experience, how artists interact, is going to be completely different. It is very different out here. I will tell you that this is one part of the country that's nothing like anywhere else.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, sorry, is that my cue? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave dead
We
air,
don't
but
have
yeah,
little
I
dings
agree with
here.
you.
We don't have little
At
dings.
100 I totally agree with you that, like, it's part of it. I mean, just from an industry side, the industry here is more Latin, you know? So there's not really like that. Like, yeah, there's an industry here, but like it's not really built to support American, like what most of the US is actually listening to and like what most of the US is doing. It's kind of like a completely different playing field. And so that reflects in what's going on locally because we don't really have much support out here to grow into something. Like I feel like, places that are a little bit more industrious and with their own scene, there's usually, a scene because there's got to be money, right? There's got to be a circuit, there's got to be venues. It's like it's
Yeah,
not just magic. It's not magic. It's like, a bunch of people came together and they liked the scene, they made venues, people started playing and the bands got better, more people started coming in, people started coming in from out of town because it's like a scene and that's what a scene is. It's like
right.
interest growing constantly, breeding into something else, and it's constantly surprising people, right? But I mean, Miami, we don't have any venues really. I mean, the getting losing, especially in Miami. I mean, I think Fort Lauderdale's better than Miami, honestly, because ever
Well,
since we lost Rosas and Churchill's, we're just like dead in
Fort
the water right now.
Fort Lauderdale is a whole different story, and it's very similar to the problems in Miami. And one
Hmm.
of the things I realized as a podcaster when I had to, we completely did a relaunch last year. I had my host, he completely left, like completely ghosted me and just left. And I had to restructure this. And one thing I started learning, especially talking with people like you and other artists down here and going to breweries and meeting different people, is the lack of support. There are so many incredible artists, such as yourself, that are
That's so
so
there.
talented and have great sound. You have your Latin background to bring into this, and there just isn't enough roar. Like, I want to do the best I possibly can with my small little podcast to be able to raise that awareness because South Florida, just like Texas, just like Indianapolis, just like Kansas, just like Tennessee and South Carolina, we have an audience here. We have artists here that
We
need to be supported.
Yeah, there's interest. And I've been to some shows that have really like blown my mind, honestly, some local shows and like I think that some of the things that we're really missing are like good, like I'm a sound engineer,
Hope this
and
podcast is good in sound because I
oh,
try.
it sounds great on Spotify. It sounds great on Spotify.
Thank
But
you.
and right now everything sounds nice and clear
Everything
in my
sounds good here.
headphones.
I
So
know this is too good
okay,
to be
cool.
true.
Too good to be true. Something must be going wrong. Yeah, and so we definitely have a lack of good sound engineering. I think like one of the best kind of situations I've seen that I brought up Las Rosas, which was like a local stronghold. They had a great sound system and a great sound engineer. It was always pretty much the same dude. I forgot his name right now, but he's amazing. Great sound, it's kind of like, and also they had this great dynamic that they would bring in DJs and kind of like use the DJ culture to bring up the band culture as well. And they kind of had a built-in audience. People would go there. I would go there just to hang out. So sometimes I would catch bands that I wasn't even intending to catch. It was one of those bars, man, and we don't have that anymore. And so like
Well, just
just
letting you
how do we
know,
cultivate that?
there's a place out here. It's maybe a little far from you, but it's in Fort Lauderdale. It's called Revolution Live.
Yeah, I've been there.
And there's
I was
another
there for the
place.
Battle of the Bands. I was there for the Battle of the Bands.
They have, oh my god. And first off, they have great bands that go there. It's super cheap. Drinks are off
Yeah.
just drinks are way too expensive. I'm not gonna lie. Their
Yeah,
structure is
$18, man. $18 for like a
it's fucked
drink is
up.
crazy.
It's really fucked up. But
It's crazy.
minus the drinks, it is a really great venue to go to. So like
Oh, well, they
you
have
run
some like $12 stuff, but yeah, like anywhere in Miami, is like 18, $20 a cocktail. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah.
it's crazy. It really like I thought because look, I come from New York and I thought the out of price drinks was
A New
maybe a
York
New
thing?
York thing. Yeah,
It
and
should
then
be, man.
it
At
really
least
should
the
be.
drinks are better there. They're so like whatever here.
But you know what the problem? Okay, here's my problem, and this is just my personal opinion. Okay, especially down here, we have a lot of snowbirds, and we have a lot of rich teenagers and
Mm,
rich young people that come out here. Okay, now when you have these prices that are skyrocketing, and it's expensive to park, and you want to go and meet independent artists like such as yourself and so many others. If you add all of these prices for a lot of people, it's like $80 for a night.
yeah.
Most
Yeah, I
people
spent
can't
I
afford this.
spent $60 last night. I had a couple drinks. I paid $9 for parking. Talking about parking because
Oh
I
my
parked at
god!
Midtown because I went to Lagnaps, right? I don't know if you've been in Lagnaps, but it's like right next to Midtown, and so there was no parking. So it's like I guess I'll
I
park in
will tell
Midtown.
you right now,
Oh man.
the closest I've ever been to Miami in the past almost 2 years I've lived here is Hialeah.
Mm,
That's
You
it.
should check out Miami, man. It's fun, but maybe I'll invite you to a show or something.
I need a good tour guide. I
Yeah,
need a
yeah,
really good
yeah,
tour
yeah.
guide.
I'm around. I try to go to every. I've been part of the scene, really. I think since like I've been doing music since before that, but like part of the scene since I went to my first Churchill show when they would still let people that
Oh,
were underage into the back, like not into the bar, but they were like, "Oh yeah, if you're not going into the bar, you can be in the back and see because they put on shows in the back." And
oh
there was
yeah.
this dude. They had this band called Toad. People probably remember them. That was my first thing. I walked in there. It was like grimy and dirty, and everyone's like going crazy. I'm 13, by the way. I'm 13, and so I walk in, and then like this dude, he rips open his pants, and he's just like he pulls out his nuts, and he's just like something. I don't remember what he said. He said some shit, and he's just like, "Let's fucking something, rock and roll or something." And I was just like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Like everyone was going crazy. Like I don't know, man. It was
Wait a minute.
probably the most like
Did you say
hardcore thing
he
I've ever seen, and I was
did,
like 13.
did you say that he pulled an actual toad out of his balls?
No, he just pulled out his balls. There were no toads
Oh
involved.
my
They were
god.
just called Toad. Yeah, there were no
Oh my
no
god.
animals were harmed
Sorry, I could
in
have
the
sworn I heard
creation of
toad.
this. Yeah, he's got like toads. Mid show, he just bursts with toads. Like
Dude,
that's part of their act, man.
there are
That's why they're
some
called
there
toads.
are some performers, there are some artists that do some weird shit. Like they throw feces at the audience,
Oh
like
man,
pee
what?
on them, shit like bro, I don't know. I don't know about
What
today, but back in the day.
was
Back
that
in
at the
the day.
Churchill's Noise Show or something? I
No,
don't
no,
know.
no, 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 no.
I'm just kidding.
This is other venues.
Oh god. That sounds insane. I don't think I would want to be part of that audience. I don't
Uh
know.
no, neither would I. I would probably keep my I would probably scream and run. Run and scream? Which
Run
one?
and scream.
Scream and
I
run or
guess
run and scream?
I guess it's, depends on which one you start with first,
Oh shit.
right? So like do you
No pun
scream
intended.
and then you run or do you run and then do you scream while you're running because
Can
it's
you
like, "Oh my god, I'm
imagine
running."
can you imagine being that person in the audience that gets hit? Poor fuck.
Oh my god, I
Like
know.
you just pay like $300 for like front row seats, you know,
Oh man. Yeah, you got a meal with your
with your
ticket.
shit in your face.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Ew.
know. Yeah, you got egg on your face.
So, you started off your experience in the back at 13 in the bar, grimy
Yeah,
and dirty
yeah,
with ball
grimy and
sacks
dirty, and
hanging
I was
out.
hanging out in the front, by the lead singer, and I was just like, "This is incredible." And so I think it just kinda opened up my eyes to, like, wow, so there's like people out there that just like music and people are making music for them, you know? And I was like, that's so fucking cool. You know, mind you, I was just getting into fucking Led Zeppelin and shit. And I was just like, oh, wow. So like if I start trying to do stuff and I could perform and like people could see me and I was about to start going to Beach High where I met one of my first major mentors, Clark Douglas Burris, who was a quadriplegic man. He suffered from MS until
Ooh, okay,
he
that's
actually, yeah, he lived until he was 71, I believe, or 70. I mean, it's actually an incredible story because the
that's
doctors,
pretty long
told,
for somebody that
yeah,
has MMS.
yeah. The doctors told him he would probably die in his 30s, kind of thing. And so, and he wanted to be a rock star. I'm just telling his story right now because that's
You
so
know,
beautiful.
surprisingly, with
But
today's technology, some of these people can live well into their 50s. I mean,
mhm.
70s is a stretch. That
Yeah,
is, it's a real stretch.
the music kept him alive, man, because so
Wow.
he wanted to be a rock star, like all of us do when we're musicians, young musicians, right? And he was good at guitar, and he was in a band, and then they diagnosed him
Ho-
with
ho-
MS.
oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
all right. That
yeah.
makes sense. I was like, wait a minute, how does a quadriplegic play
No,
guitar?
so he lost his ability to use his limbs little by little over time. And so he knew that this would happen, and he actually thought he would, it was a pretty dire kind of thing to hear, like it's a fatal disease, there's nothing you can really do about it. And so he went to Beach High and he got a job teaching. I think it was just guitar quartet or something like that, like classical guitar. And so he asked, I think either in his first or second year, very soon after he joined, he asked the principal, like, I can I have a rock ensemble? And he made the first rock ensemble in 1972, the very first rock ensemble of the United States, the first official one, for a high school. Yeah, and funny enough, when I joined Rock Ensemble, it was his 40th and last year, and we did this giant 40th anniversary concert. It's really cool. Like
You
I did
made
like a whole
perfect
lot of love.
timing. It's like
Yeah,
perfect entrance, from the stage.
yeah, it was so cool, and he's such an awesome dude. I mean, he had a place called the Ponderosa in Coral Gables, this lovely home that he had lived in pretty much all his life. And he would like have like cookouts, and like we would like make burgers and stuff, and listen to music. He's honestly one of the coolest dudes ever, and so that dude made me love performing and taught me how to be a performer, from his chair, which is kind of crazy. He's not like a singer or anything. He just kind of like he knew how to he was like a producer. That's really what he was. He was like our band producer, and it kind of showed me how to run a group and what a group should be doing to get the best performance and what a good performance is, which are such huge kind of like milestones for someone to go through. And I got to music at Dade after I finished high school, and then I worked, or sorry, I finished my degree in production with Berkeley Online over the pandemic. And yeah, man, just been focused on that mostly, and just using those skills to release more and more music.
I'm gonna wait for it to start. All right. So yeah. So
Take 4
take 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 65.
of Lost in the Groove. Pre-scripted. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wrote this all down and I
Dum
sent
dum
you the
dum.
script. We got China. China's on board with the
Yes.
script.
Yeah. We got, India and Pakistan on board, all hail.
Yeah, everyone's on board.
Everyone's on board.
This is a worldwide production here.
Yes.
We don't leave any checks on or any wait what no any
No.
checks unmarked with a check, I
No.
guess. We check
All
every
right.
box.
Oh my God.
Oh
Well, we
yeah.
are definitely getting taken down. But oh God. Well, once I mean we had connection issues and all of this madness happened. We were talking about your experience with Toad when you were 13,
Yes.
and I mean, as a teenager, your just experience with music, I'm assuming is wild. You
Yeah.
seem like some. I'm not judging, but you seem like somebody you had a few wild years as a teenager, didn't you?
I mean,
Didn't you, Brennan?
I've seen some crazy stuff, man. I've definitely seen some crazy stuff, and I mean, Churchill's is definitely one of the crazier places I've been at.
Balls hanging
And
isn't enough,
balls
Brennan.
hanging, yeah, that was. I mean, that was a good introduction. You know, it was like, wow, there's some power here. I'm interested. But yeah, man, it was just kind of like that experience, and then also going to Beach High with this mentor, Clark Douglas Burris, and he kind of like
Right, the
showed me.
quadriplegic.
Yes, and so he, basically he would run rock ensemble from his chair and just tell us what to do. And really, he was like, I've thought about it, and he's like the first producer in my life. Like the first person that showed me how to like get a band to get their sound, because we were really tight. And my mom, who I will shout her out, she grew up in Mexico in the 80s, and well, not only in the 80s, but she was kind of like my age in the 80s, and so that's when in the 90s, and so she was working with Sony BMG and Polygram, like as an executive in the record companies in Mexico way back. And so she's got all this knowledge that she's always kind of like imparting on me. So I think the most important thing to know about being a musician, if anyone's interested in being a musician, you do got to know some people, and you got to have some people that you trust that are giving you good information, because there are so many people out there that don't know anything, and they're gonna, especially in Miami, they're just kind of like talk right out of their ass. Like they will say it to you until you are destitute. They
They're
will
like,
continue.
they're like,
Yeah.
listen, Papi,
Yeah.
listen. Let
Listen,
me tell
Poppy.
you.
Oh man, I've dealt with people like that exactly, man. I was in a
You know what
band
I'm
called
talking.
Space Camel, man. I'm just gonna break my face
Estos
there. I'm just gonna
cubanos.
break. I'm gonna break the story there for a second for
I
the
love
dark
them.
side of Miami. Like, so we were in this band, Space Camel, and like with a K. It was a cool band, man. Didn't work out.
Space. Wait.
Space
Stone Brand
Camel, one word,
with a K.
with a K of the camel. Space Camel. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
We had some crazy like funk rock stuff. Actually, the bassist for that band is the bassist that's played with me in practically all my music, Gabe Kodo, who's like my brother. He's amazing. I think he's like the best bassist I've ever seen, honestly. Even though uh, it's like, I don't know. I just can't like. I don't know why he doesn't do more, because he's bass god, man. That's what we used to call him in high school. He's bass god, and he's just got this. He's got this feel for rhythm and for bass that is just so different, and I really dig it. He's a really creative dude.
People forget, and I always say this, especially when I make music or whenever I'm listening to music, you need a bass. You always, like, if you don't have a bass guitar is like, dude, it's one of the most important instruments. And like sometimes these artists, they're not appreciated. Like, ugh, you're just bass player, bro. Like without this guy, there's no.
Yeah, he's the one like getting like locking the rhythm into the harmony, and kind of like he's the one making sense of a lot of it, right? He's put in that foundation. The bass is the foundation of the song, so it's like, it's really hard to make a good song without a strong bass line, even though it's not impossible. A famous example, Prince, when doves cry. What's that? That's the name of the song, right? When doves cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he famously removed the bass line before he released it, and has no bass line.
It doesn't need a bass line. The song itself is very synth heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
And it has a break. So, bringing up Prince, I wanted to say this, okay? Listening to your music and hearing your sound, best way I described it in my head is like a cross between David Bowie and Prince.
I mean, that's like super nice of you to say. I mean, but I mean, the influence is definitely there. I mean, particularly with David Bowie.
You can hear it in the sound.
Thank you.
Definitely hear it.
I mean, particularly with David Bowie, his last album, Black
Black
Star. That
Star, my
really, really,
favorite
really
album.
affected me. That really affected me, especially because I was listening to a lot of Kendrick Lamar at that time. And then so like I was listening to the Kendrick Lamar and that album, and then I got into
I'm a black
Prince.
star.
Yeah,
I'm
oh
a
my God.
black star.
Yeah, and right around that time I got into Prince because they really, because for a long time they didn't have his music on streaming. I don't know if you remember that there was like a whole thing, a
With
hiatus.
Prince?
Prince didn't have any of his music on streaming, or very, very few songs, like 2, 3 songs. And so, it was really hard to listen to his music because the whole thing was like, oh, we're not going to sell out. You have to buy his music to own it. Like you can't
I didn't
listen
really,
to it on stream.
I don't blame him in many ways, because you have
Yeah,
to remember
totally.
what he went through in the 90s. So it's like,
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't like record companies. He doesn't like big companies with his music. He
never
doesn't
did.
trust them. And he was probably right. But once he died, he had no real power over his estate. Whoever had power was just like, this is going to make us more money than selling it physical and digital as MP3s or WAVs. So let's just put it on streaming. So
But
at the same
David,
time, if they wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have listened, right? Because
right.
what I did after they did that, I just took it upon myself to like listen to everything in order. And so, I made it all the way to Rainbow Children, I think it's called, that album.
Wait a minute.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Stone Brain, sorry. You listen to all of Prince's music?
All the way to, I haven't, not all of it, because I stopped at Rainbow Children. I haven't gotten into Rainbow. I've listened to it. It's like he started going, because, so the album before Rainbow Children, In Through the Out, I mean, not In Through, I'm thinking Led Zeppelin, In Through the Outdoor. Joy Unto the, no, what is it called? It's such a weird fucking name.
Hold on, I'll pull it up. Give me a sec.
Yeah, something about Dance Unto the Joy Fantastic. No, there's a different word at the beginning.
Disco. Okay, here we go. All right. 19 Purple Rain. 3 Batman. Crystal Ball, Planet Earth.
Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic. That album came out in 1999, November 9, 1999. Isn't that nice? He's a numbers man. But he was 40 when, he was 40 when he released this album, and it's actually, I think it's my favorite album of his. It's an incredible record.
Came out the year I was born.
Nice.
Good year.
Good things came out of that year, obviously.
Yes, it did.
And so yeah, that album, I feel like it's just this masterpiece of a record that shows kind of like his songwriting capacity, his breadth of like ability to do all these different things. It also is kind of like, I feel like he's got teachings, and like we're like the listeners that are really listening are like his disciples. I kind of really strongly feel this, like he's trying to tell us something, and what he's trying to tell us, at least what I'm getting from the message, is mix all the music you can together. Don't discriminate one type of music from another. It's all music. It all works together. You just have to find out how, and that's what's going to make it work. That's what's going to make it, sound good. How those pieces fit together, but they all do, So it's like mix, blues and funk and rock and hip hop and everything, R&B, soul. Put it all together however you can. It's all part of the same puzzle. It's all music. It's not, you shouldn't discriminate between different styles of music. To, while you're making something, you should be open to the fact that it's all going to mix in you, and it's all about how you've interpreted everything that you've listened to. So you've got to listen to all this music and, interpret, and I feel like that's what I get from his music. I feel like if he's teaching us anything, it's that. And at least as musicians, musically, obviously there's other teachings in his music, like sex and drugs and rock and roll. I'm just kidding. Not drugs, but definitely sex and rock and roll.
Definitely sex.
Definitely a lot.
A lot of sex.
Listening to Prince, I was like, he was saying this stuff in the 80s, man. Holy fuck, this dude's crazy.
Yeah, like people,
the 70s, the 80s, like,
people.
It's like, what the fuck, like.
People say that Freddie Mercury was the, femme fatale. I say Prince was the Dominique, like the Dominique of like mantra, of like pure
Mm.
I will have you, baby.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
mine. Will do you tonight?
Yeah. For real.
Yeah, that's
He
like
is.
that is Prince. That is all
Yeah.
Prince. You know, the symbol, the icon, and like Bowie. I don't know if you've noticed. I did this in the post when I post some of your music on our story on the
Yeah.
pod.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Of course, man. We gotta spread the word. I call it the Jasso because your sound. I don't know why. You know, like I think that when you're an artist and you're figuring out what you want to do, you know, because like I think like when you're 13 years old, you're like, oh my god, this is so fucking cool, wow. And then you get older and you're like, okay, I want to do music and I want to figure this out, and you start figuring out your sound and your groove, and like you're saying, like Prince is saying, take the sound, figure it out, put it together, make something out of it, right? And then you got to make your sound.
Yeah, totally.
You're making the Jasso. So how do you do that?
I'll take it. Well, man, it's a hard question to answer. I mean, I started songwriting like, well, so like I always wanted to write songs, but I think I started like tinkering with it when I was like 11, 12, because my mom bought me a MacBook and I started playing around with GarageBand. And so that was also my first foray into like recording and doing stuff. But I did a bunch of bullshit, like a bunch of stupid stuff, kid stuff, you know. And then, but eventually, when I turned like 12, I think, and I started going to Nautilus, and I got into heavy into Led Zeppelin, I was kind of like, and also like I got into Rodrigo y Gabriela. I don't know if you know that band. These two amazing Mexican guitarists. They have.
I'm going to tell you a little something. My dad was an immigrant from Morocco, and my dad did plumbing and heating, and my dad, he had a lot of his workers came from Latin countries, especially Mexico and New York, you know, very blue collar, like the kind of, you know, suburbs. I listened to Mexican music my whole life.
Oh, cool.
My whole
Very
childhood,
cool.
like, because my dad loved it. You know, he always played it on the radio, so I don't know their songs, but if you played
I'm gonna send you stuff because you got to check them out. Because
if
they
you
have
played
a cover.
it, I probably would know it. I probably would know it if I heard it.
So they have a cover of Stairway to Heaven, right? And I had never heard Led Zeppelin before, really. Like I just never
in
had
Spanish or in English.
So they don't. So they're a guitar like virtuoso duo. So they don't sing. So like one of them plays like incredible. Like she does this thing with her hand. Like I'm not even joking. If you watch the videos, it's like doing this, but it sounds like you know, like just like doing some crazy rhythm. And he's like the lead, and he does like some crazy lead shit. And they basically create a sound, the two of them, that is like massive. Like the way it's produced, it just
I'm getting a
feels
picture.
so heavy.
I'm getting a picture of what kind of music you're talking. Okay, yeah.
It's like
I know
flamenco style, but they're Mexican. They actually hit it off in Dublin. Like they went to Ireland and they started like busking in Dublin, and someone heard them and they're like, "You're amazing! What the fuck? We're gonna sign you and we're gonna record you."
Ireland, out of all places. Wow.
And I'm Irish too, so it's just like a cool, like all those little parallels make it more interesting for me. So you know, it's just like I heard their Stairway to Heaven cover, and then I listened to Stairway to Heaven, and then it was like any fucking 12-year-old, or I guess I was 12, that like listens to Stairway to Heaven the first time, they're like, oh my god, this is the most amazing thing I've ever fucking heard. And then you listen to it like 800 million more times, and you're still like, oh my god, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard, you know? And then you start smoking weed, and then you hear it again, you're like, oh my god, this is still so fucking good.
Do you want to know Carissa, which is host and my best friend that does American Groove? Her favorite Led Zeppelin song is No Quarter. Have you ever heard No Quarter?
I love that fucking song.
Oh my god!
I've heard every single fucking Led Zeppelin song. I swear.
I have every single one of their albums on vinyl, including Coda. I have a copy of Coda.
Nice, man. That's
okay,
nice.
I'm committed. I'm committed to this.
That's real commitment. I don't have all of them. I have only a select few, honestly, because it's just hard to find them, and you know, I just don't make a big.
Do you know?
I wish I did make.
I'm going to tell you a little story.
I love.
Do you know how I got 4 of my Led Zeppelins that I got? I got them in a record store, but the guy didn't have them on the shelves. So so
Mm.
the story was I went there and I was looking at vinyl records and I was, was talking to him about Jerry Garcia, and I'm not a Grateful Dead fan. I'm
Mm.
sorry. I like
Eh,
his, eh,
I
I like
respect them.
I like his solo career when he did his instrumental work. I have one of his albums, and he pulled out a copy, and he's like, "You can have this for $30." And I was like, "Are you serious?" And like, this is like a 1974 Jerry Garcia, like it's in beautiful condition.
Mm.
And he's like, "Wait a minute, I got something else." He pulls out these, like, the one in the brown paper package. There was the white one, with the family that's sitting on. I don't remember all and then the one that's
Presents.
presents.
I love that album. It's actually, quick aside, that's the first Led Zeppelin album to not like hit gold. I think it was something like that. Like no one liked it. No one liked that fucking album.
It's a beautiful album.
I
It's
love that
a
album.
it's a story. It's different than what Led Zeppelin would generally do. It's like a story from start to finish. So you're like,
Mm.
that's it?
Mm.
Point.
Mm.
Um, but he pulled these out and they were in beautiful condition, and I was like,
Yeah. Beautiful.
so I'm telling you, like, the way that I've been able to connect with music, and I feel like you have as well, is just connecting with other people that
Mm.
feel
Totally.
those vibes, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, the people that are moved by music, obviously, I feel like we end up getting along a little better. Like if music means something to them, definitely.
I feel if there was no art, there was no music. Can you imagine how boring the world would be?
It would be awful. I mean, I feel people really underestimate how much art and music plays in their life. What an important role. Mm.
What would be, especially like when you're in your moment or getting into your own vibes, like you were talking about Prince.
Mm.
Why don't
Mm.
you were mentioning also, like, I said David Bowie. Were
Mm.
you also inspired by David Bowie's music?
I would say I haven't gone like deep into it. I feel like his sound is like his music came at a time when music sounded a little different, like the whole like 60s simple production kind
But
of sound.
he
And
has
then
different
yeah, he has
eras.
so much music exactly, like, so I haven't, like, because I've tried to listen to the like from the start. I like to listen from the start to finish kind of thing. I like to understand the progress of the artist, and I guess I just haven't been able to like get past the first few albums. But I will one day. That's one of those things. Like I gotta listen to more Bowie. It's like I don't mind. But his last album I did get really, really into. I feel like that album kind of like did a lot for me in general. It's crazy just what one song can do for you. But and just that album spoke to me musically, and just the concepts,
Yeah.
sonically and visually, and like the meaning behind everything. It's a masterpiece. I mean, yeah.
Each one is a story of its own, and I think when you take Freddie Mercury, his last song being Mother, and you take David Bowie's last album being Black Star, these are not only works of art, but they're a celebration of life and death.
Yeah.
Like we were speaking earlier,
Mm.
there's something that not only is symbolic, but it's accepting it and realizing, what can I do in the moment now with the limited amount of time I have left? Am I going to
Mm.
sit in sorrow, or am I going to pour every ounce of my breath that I have into this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, my music is my meditation. It's my way of dealing with everything. And I think particularly the, in this, like with these 7 singles that I've done this year, I've been trying to be incredibly honest. Everything kind of having some kind of honest side to it, some kind of deeper meaning. Also exploring a lot more of an electronic kind of more produced sound. Been playing around a lot with Ableton. I've done everything else before this on Pro Tools. Would produce everything on Pro Tools and write everything on Pro Tools, which is, I like Pro Tools, but it's not the most producer friendly, definitely. But I still love to mix and edit and master in Pro Tools because it's just works for me. Honestly, I like it a lot.
Yeah, there are different softwares that are great for different tasks, and that's the
Mm,
thing. They're great for
mm,
different tasks. I don't know, it's very hard, especially when you're doing audio engineering, and there's I can't even think of one software that does all of the things I need it to do.
mm,
There's always going to be things like, okay, I know that this is not going to have it. And
mm.
it kind of sucks. I mean, after like 40 or 50, even 60 years of technology and advancement, we can't fix a simple solution like that. I mean, like, come
Yeah.
on.
I guess it's just because of all the workflows, all the different things that you need, and like just design I work for a pedal company. I don't know if I've ever brought that up, but I work for a pedal company called Singular Sound. I'm the product manager. And so, I spend a lot of time dealing with designs of products, designs of UX, designs of like, how is this digital thing going to make sense to someone when they use it? So it's like, very like, imagining with a lot of steps, like just like, okay, so if they press this button, this is going to happen on screen, and then if they go to this screen, then they know that this is going on because this state change and blah 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 blah. So it's, like,
Very
design is such,
repetitive.
yeah, well, yeah, it's like design is like this very complicated animal because you can try to design something that works for one person, but then it won't work for like a whole bunch of other people, So keeping workflow in mind is important, but I think like just by the nature of design, you'll always have people that just don't like the way that you think or the way that you see things being more logical, because like the way we like things to look is like an emotional response almost. And so like we can't design for everyone. We can try, obviously we try to, but like, some products in particular, in my case, working like with a looper, with a digital looper, like, I'm not going to build it for someone that isn't into looping. I'm going to build it for someone that wants to build something that's particularly about looping. And so, I
Yeah.
think that just keeping your trying to make it so that a bunch of people can understand a design and go with it. I mean, there's always going to be people. And so just, I guess, like, to give credit to Ableton and Pro Tools, they kind of like, they're going for different things. Pro Tools, they don't really want producers. Well, they didn't for a while. Now they're trying really hard, but it's not working. It doesn't work. They went for a dark mode and everything, and now it just looks different, but it's like still complicated. I don't know. There's really, for me, like when I started messing around with Ableton, there's really nothing like that kind of the immediacy of being able to create something that sounds pretty decent and make something pretty cool in like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, just like sitting there, hitting some keys on your keyboard and recording some vocal shit and maybe some guitar.
But believe it or not, like, I do presets and loops. Like, I primarily use GarageBand, but
Yeah, GarageBand's great.
it's
Amazing.
really good. I use it for editing the podcast, which is makes my life so much easier. But the thing that you have to learn, like especially with looping and presets, is, and I totally see that with like design, is the progression, the pattern you're going for. Because you got to remember, one of the most important things, especially when making music, is you got to remember your tempo. So is it 4, 5, 8, 6? Is it
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3? Like, being able to understand and putting those patterns together, having those tools, knowing where everything is, laying, understanding the design layout, understanding the audio sample, knowing how you
Yeah.
can
There's
use
so
it.
many things, right? There's like a million things going
There's a
on, and you've
million
got to
things.
like be able to look at a screen and be like, okay, I know where everything is right now. It's like, This makes sense to me.
I made
And that's good
sounds by
design.
mistake. I made sounds by mistake, believe it or
I've
not.
I've released a song not right. The main like dun 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 was I fucked up. Like I clipped something by accident that I didn't mean to clip,
Dun,
and so
dun,
I just made like a
dun,
little
dun.
loop.
Is that a?
Uh,
Oh. Oh
yeah.
my God! Are you serious?
Yeah, and like I just started looping that, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty neat, and then I put a drum pattern
That's a
behind
good
that.
hook, by the way.
Thank
When
you.
you have that, when you have that, it's a good hook. So if you like throw in like a break, ooh, you hear me? I don't know.
I do. I'm sorry.
I'm very groovy and funky with my music. I love like a really like funky bass. I love funky basses. Those are like my favorites. Go like wah 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 wah. Yeah.
You like that nice envelope filter on your bass, that wobbly thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that
There's
shit.
something beautiful. Like, look, not everybody's into 70s music, and I totally get it. It was a weird decade, but vibe and groove is a
That's where it
go-to.
developed, man.
Yeah.
That's where it developed.
In what way? You want to elaborate on that?
Like groove, I mean, the 60s didn't really have the groove of the 70s. I mean, what Led Zeppelin and what's it called? Basically all the like the Commodores. I guess they were like. I'm
There's
thinking
John
like
Denver.
70s funk. Yeah,
There's Hot
like 70s.
Chocolate. You ever heard of Hot Chocolate?
No, I never heard of Hot
Oh my
Chocolate.
God. I literally have this conversation with every single artist. Okay. Everybody that's listening to this, including yourself, when you have a chance, it's called Hot Chocolate. It's called Emma. I can't play this on a podcast, unfortunately, due to copyright infringement, but that's what it's called.
All right, I'm gonna put it in my little list here.
Let me see if I can send it to you. You have Spotify, right?
Yeah, I have. I try to have both Apple and Spotify.
Okay. Look at you being supportive.
Yeah, you got to know where you're gonna have your music. Even though I feel like it's like a pit, man. No one finds anything on these platforms. It's like you got to get people to listen. You can't expect anyone to find anything.
We become our own record stores. I mean, the days when we had Tower Records and actual physical places to get music, it was, who would you ask? You'd ask the person
the dude. Yeah.
Yeah. His name was
the dude
Derek
at the counter.
or Fred.
And he just knows the music really well, and or like he's got a lot of taste, man. So it's like I ask him, "What's the next hot record, bro?" Yeah, there's not a lot of that anymore. I mean, I try to like follow like Pitchfork sometimes has led me to some good stuff. Sometimes not really, but that's all paid for, man. So it's kind of hard to really know anymore. It just all feels so fake. I mean, most of the stuff, like, I don't know if you've ever known this, but like most of those like simple, maybe I shouldn't say this, oh my God, but most of those like
go right ahead,
when
bro.
people put up all these
Spill
like
it.
interviews on like, like, oh, like someone interviewed me on this website, or like someone, blah, 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 and blah, 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 they, whatever. Usually you pay for that, like publicity. Like, I'm not paying for this, which is great, and thank you for having me on this podcast. And like it's like
Not
a real
everything's
podcast.
not everything's about money. Like, one thing I've
it shouldn't
realized.
be, but yeah.
Look, something I've realized, especially as a podcaster, I have a job, you have a job as well. We have our careers, and when you want to, I feel, if you want to be successful, if everything you shove in people's faces is a dollar sign instead of a hand, and say, is there some other way that we can be able to work a way to communicate our audiences, or figure out a way to collaborate on something? I feel that's one thing that unfortunately we got from the corporate generations and from the 80s, is this idea of money, 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 money. Not everything has to be about money, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I just write I mean, I make music because I can't not. Like, it's like one of those things, like I have to
It's
write
fun.
music. It's like, I mean, yeah, it is super fun, but also sometimes it's super painful. Sometimes it's like the way I deal with pain. Sometimes it's like frustrating,
But it's
but
an
it's like,
exercise. It's an
it's an
exercise
exercise.
we
I
get to
mean, it's,
do.
yeah, but for me, I feel like I have to make something. Like, like I just have like this need to create something that means something, and I can't stop myself. And the more I learn about how to do everything, like now that I know how to mix and master and produce, I just do it all myself because it's like I have like hundreds of little songs that just kind of like float around that I don't know if I'll ever finish, and like I wrote them when I was much younger, or I wrote them and I don't really know what I'm going to do with them. But it's like it's trying to like keep up with that creativity and like put something out that's meaningful, because creativity is nice, but I like being productive. I don't know, like, and obviously everyone's different with their art and like how they want to, like what they want to do with it. Like some people it's a personal thing, some people it's a hobby thing, some people they want to put it out but they're not really interested in promoting, they just want to have it out there, which everyone's got their journey, but for
Right.
me it's like I really want to make something and share something, and I want it to be meaningful when it's heard. I don't want it to be something that is whatever. Not how would I put this? Like, I want to make something that people can enjoy. And that's a really hard thing because I tend to just like things that people don't like, which is funny. I'm like have the opposite taste of most people, like the general public. I find to be the opposite of what I want. So it's kind of like finding a balance there. Like, what do I want, and what can I give people that maybe they might like a little bit too. So
I have an
yeah.
idea. Do you want
Hmm.
to do you want to take a little break and then we can play some music, and then let's just play some music
For
from
sure.
Jasso. Let me
Oh, I
pull
would
up.
love that.
Oh my god. Let me see. This would let me pull this up. Hello. How mind me asking, how long have you been making music? For how many years?
So I started. Well, yeah, I was talking about that's so funny. But I kind of started tinkering when I was really young. But I feel like the first song that I wrote that was put out in my first album, which I released in 2014, I started writing that in 2011 when I was 15. And I think that the first song I started writing that I have out is called Winter Days. I believe that's the very first song I ever wrote that I've
So you started
released.
in 2011.
Yeah, I would say that that's like when I actually started putting effort into writing and recording something that I wanted to put out. Like before that, I had tried to write some stuff and it was kind of weird and like, but then, like it was kind of cool. Some of them were kind of cool. I mean, I had some other little tunes that I guess, are out there, and I wonder where those files are. Like I was just saying, trying to keep up with your fucking creativity, like I just like remembered, actually, there's some other songs that I tried and I didn't put out, but
I
yeah, man, ever since then, I've been at it for a while.
Well, you gave me over a song called Cleo, which I think you
Yes.
mentioned you posted recently.
Yeah,
So,
I released that in May. I
all
believe
right,
it was in May.
all right. Let's take a little listen. Hold on. Let me see how we're gonna do this.
Sobre todo te quiero, pero todo lo que quieres es el dinero, no. La fama te llama, te tienta, te toca, te toma tu tiempo y todos tus colores. Imposible no verte, toda la luz de tu ser se junta con mis ojitos abiertos y verdes. En el océano hay muchos peces, pero contigo la verdad que me descuido a veces. Tantas cosas tan lindas que me llenas de mariposas. Con la pista de hoy no volveré sin tus rosas, pero con los besos cuales persigo me encuentro en un sueño contigo. Sobre todo te quiero, pero todo lo que quieres es el dinero, no.
Whoa. Whoa. Oh my god. Do you hear this? Ah! I think I muted you by accident. Sorry. I think I did. Can you walk me through where this song came? First of all, it's in Spanish, which
It's in Spanish.
is super cool. Oh my god, and that's a great beat, great sound.
Thank you
Damn.
so much. Thank
Walk
you
me
so
through
much.
this. How did you make this? Where did Cleo come from? I'm curious.
So basically, these 7 singles, a huge reason why I started writing them, they all kind of came out of the same writing process. And so I don't know if you've heard of Samples from Mars. They're just like the samples company. And so they had a sale with all of their samples. And I was like, for $50, I was like,
That's not
you know
bad.
what? That's a good deal.
How
That's
many
a good deal.
samples?
So it was hundreds of samples. And they had them, like packaged in ways that you could just like drag and drop drum sets into Ableton kind of thing. Like they had it all nice and packaged nice.
Do you know
Uh,
one thing I love, like in GarageBand? I other software they have this too, where you can put in a beat, the beat kits, and then you can add in tuners, so you can do it yourself. Dude, I love me some good beat kit.
Yeah, man. Nothing. I mean, the sound of the drum is so important, and I was
Yes,
working
it
with
is.
really shitty sounds, and so I think like getting those samples and just like I would just sit down and like start making a beat, either using my little MIDI keyboard thing, or I have this sequencer, MIDI sequencer that I've been using. Arturia, both of them are Arturia. I really dig Arturia. I'm using the beat step, or the clock step. I forget which one it's called. I think it's
Where
called
do
the
you
beat step.
record, mind me asking?
In my room. Everything in this record has been all of these songs. These 7 songs were in particular were recorded in my room, except the drums I recorded at the drummer's house. He was able to let me put up some baffles. He has some baffles in his house, and he just set up his drums in his like little like rehearsal room, and I just recorded them there. But so and I do my vocals in my room right next to my computer, just by myself. My guitars, the bass. If I sometimes I bring in the bassist, but a lot of there's a lot of synth bass in these songs. But yeah, so like I would just sit down, make a beat, and come up with something. And if I liked it, I would save it. And then so this one in particular, it was originally called Purple Door, and it was just that original beat, the boom, ka-ta-ka-pong, that where it's how it had like it opens like boom, ka-ta-ka-pong, da-boom, da-ka-ta-pong, da, and like it started like that, and then I was like, this is cool, but I couldn't come up with anything. So like few weeks later, I hear it again. I'm like, yeah, this is so fucking cool. Let me just like whatever the hell comes out. Like maybe I should try in Spanish, and just I'm very improvisatory with my writing. I just kind of like
this song really like, yeah, I can kind of hear it. I mean, it kind of would sound good in English, but
yeah, I mean, I was just like, let me see what I can do, because who knows what'll come out of it. And so I started like saying gibberish, which is usually how I like to start writing, and just like in rhythm, gibberish and rhythm. And then because like I have a very strong theory that like we're kind of like being fed like music from like this like, maybe it's in our head, but like it's like this feeling of like everything's around us, and when you're
like a
improvising,
mycelium network, but for
yeah,
artists.
that exactly, yeah. And so like you feel totally, that's a good way to put it, actually. Very nice way to visualize that. And like I
You're
feel
welcome.
like for sure, yeah, thank you. So like the words, like sometimes I feel like the words I want to say sometimes come out better when I'm not thinking of what I want to say. And so if I put myself in the right place, I can sometimes just kind of like get something out of it. And so this song, it started with the sobre todo te quiero, pero todo lo que quieres es el dinero, no. And then I just looped that twice, and I was like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. And then I was playing with it for a while. I was like, do something with that. And so I added the second half of the chorus, and then the verses. I was like, I need like an acoustic guitar, man. And I added an acoustic, and I was like, oh, that opened the song so much. I was like, So it's just kind of like an art. It kind of like became this like art pop rock song because the guitars come in on the chorus so heavy.
It's very mid 90s.
Yeah, it has like a very mid 90s
Like
kind of like art pop.
95-ish, 96.
I was born 96. I was born 96.
Okay,
But yeah,
we're going 96.
yeah, we're going 96.
This whole podcast episode has all been about numbers, so we're going 96, baby.
But yeah, man. So that song was really just. It didn't. So what's different about this song is that I didn't write it about anyone or anything in particular. The meaning of the song, Cleo. So it's short for Cleopatra, and I think it's just. It doesn't have to be necessarily a woman, but I think Cleo for
Very
short. It's just
androgynous.
someone that is just about the money, man. It's just about the money, and I feel like Miami's full of that. And I don't really need to get into a specific person to get into these feelings. And like, I think that the vibe is like I'm in love, or not me, but like I guess there's also this concept of like falling in love with this person that doesn't feel anything, which is like such a like an American thing, like like the porn industry and like the DIY porn industry. It's kind of like a huge thing where like people just like throwing money at people that don't really care about them, but they can become obsessed, and it's obsessive, and it's just like they can't separate the transaction from real love sometimes. And I feel like I'm exploring that too.
It's so interesting you mentioned this, because the first thing that comes to mind is I think of strippers, because in many ways they are performers and dancers.
Fell in love with a stripper.
And the way that these girls have to work, I mean, to be honest, I don't think half of us can do what they can do.
No, totally. I have so much respect for people that are able to,
oh my God, it is
make that work for them, and like live a happy life. It's like must be hard. Must be really fucking
It must be hard, but there are people that do it, and the thing is, it's a job and it's an artistry, no matter the way that you look at it. But it's all about how things are perceived. It's funny because for so long we've lived in this stereotype of cannabis is bad, mushrooms are bad, sex is bad,
all the good things that you like are bad.
is bad.
If you feel good, it's bad.
It's like video games bad. Everything's bad.
Life is suffering. If you're not suffering, what the fuck are you doing?
But once you start doing those things, you start like going down the dark alleyway. I think the secret to youth, and I think the secret to keep yourself young, is don't seclude yourself. Don't close yourself. Open yourself to new possibilities. If somebody offers an opportunity of, hey, let's try this place out, go for it.
Go for it. Yeah.
You don't like punk? Yeah. Try it out. See if you like punk. You hate it? Leave.
I like punk live. I don't like listening to punk in my headphones. I find like I don't sit down and listen to punk.
Have you listened to the Ramones?
I have listened to the Ramones. I mean, it's cool. It's just not. I don't know. I'm such like a heady person. I like Radiohead.
Okay. Have you heard the Ramones on a vinyl record player?
I feel like that would be cool. That's different.
Oh my God! Because I have a sound of a stereo system set up. That's how you listen. You have to. It doesn't have to necessarily be vinyl, but it has to be a stereo system.
Yeah, I have my stereo system here.
It needs to be loud and bass and raw.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like it live, because it's like you get that feeling, and the headphones, it just doesn't really do it justice. Like I definitely feel like different music like has like a different place for me, especially like I can vibe with all sorts of music, but I just can't always like some music just I don't enjoy like sitting down and listening to. Like in my little my little cocoon of listening to my music and and thinking in my head, I like this or I like that. whatever.
Do you feel that? Do you feel in many ways that the music that you're making for the type of audience that's listening to this, because like you have tunes that are great for dancing, or I like to say you're at a cocktail lounge,
Mm,
or on a
thank you.
nice date, or just driving in your convertible, going down the freeway, not the I-95, because there's definitely car accidents. For the next few
Yeah.
months in Florida, we're gonna have car accidents all
Yeah.
over our highways every day. Yes, that's
Yeah.
a
There were probably
reality. Yeah.
probably 5 car accidents in the time you sang
Every
that.
day from September until January, baby. Let's get ready.
Yeah, totally.
But do you feel me on that though? Like the type of people that we can't really, uh, depict our actual audience, but the
Yeah,
type of vibes that we're creating,
yeah,
where
yeah.
they're going to be listened to, like the setting and the
Mhm.
motions that are going into. Might be somebody
Mm.
sitting on the toilet and shitting. I don't know.
I mean, I think, yeah, I definitely write music for like me, like, like what I want to say, what I want to hear.
Right.
Like I try to make a space for me in music. I don't try to like make something that sounds like a genre. And so, I guess I like when I listen to music, I really appreciate artists that have a lot of different variety to their sound and a lot of different sides to them, and they explore a lot. And so, I guess I just try to do that too. And if, it's been really hard to honestly get listeners. It's like one of the hardest things for me. It's not easy to break out, man, and it has nothing to do with talent or ability. It's just hard. There's just so much out there. And so, I still, it's a great question. Who are my listeners? I still haven't found them, I think. I still haven't really found my core listener group. And, but I'm getting there. I think, I would hope that it's like kind of like alternative people. I don't know, people that are into alternative music. I don't think there's a better way to describe my music. It's just alternative. It's got some of it's a little more poppy, some of it's definitely not. Mix it all up.
You need a balance, though. You can't always have the
Mhm.
same things being,
Mhm.
and I think that's also great because you're offering up like not only an experience but also a chance to hear different parts.
Mhm.
Tying back to Prince, because I love Prince.
I love Prince. Yeah.
Everybody love. Who doesn't love? Anybody that doesn't love Prince, we still love you.
Question mark. Yeah. Yeah, you
Definitely
gotta
question
you
mark.
gotta do some exploring, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely like. Should you go down to like maybe Panama and do some ayahuasca? I think that might be overdue.
Yeah, you gotta open your third eye, man, because something's wrong. Something's
But
blocked.
it's interesting you mentioned like even breaking out, because today there's so many things that are everywhere. There's music all over social media. There's music all over YouTube and SoundCloud and Spotify. I mean, it's just overflowing. You have to. You start wondering like, am I ever going to find my audience? I mean, there's just so much going
Yeah,
on. But
exactly. Yeah. A little bit of luck to it, There's definitely some things you can do, but there's only so much. And money is everything. I mean, if you have a shit ton of money, you can just put ads forever everywhere, and yeah, you'll probably get found eventually. But if you don't have the money to support that kind of like outreach, it's really, really hard. Like really, really, really hard.
yeah, but it's part of the journey, my man.
Part of the
Yeah,
journey. Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
Long way. Yeah, I mean, totally. It's never been easy, I think, but yeah, right now it's just overwhelmingly. There's so many different people. If you're not major as an artist, you're just not really known, and it's really hard to get there. And it's not really a talent thing anymore. It's more just like who appears in the spotlight at the right time, and does it catch fire on TikTok? Like are they big on TikTok? It's pretty more of a question, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic. You have to ask like the question like how many guys in denim jackets are sitting by a river on a crate on a guitar
Yeah,
playing some instrumental something.
yeah, yeah,
Millions.
yeah. and half of them are filming it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Half of them are taking a video. Mm.
I think one of the secret formulas is just being honest and real. Because look, you can throw out ads as much as you want, but if somebody's listening to this and we're just having a conversation, like, I'm not trying to sell like some itch cream for your fucking ass. Like, that's not it's not the fucking 80s anymore. Like, the reality is, I feel the road to success is not necessarily to be famous. I think the road
Yeah.
to success is making something that's great, that you can not only profit off of but benefit from, that you don't have to be. Okay, I don't know if you heard this. I'm going to say this. You heard Aerosmith came out to Florida. They're coming out of Florida.
I didn't
Okay.
hear that.
You're going to love this. So they're coming out to Florida, and they're charging $900 for seats to a giant screen. So it's the back of the band. $900.
Yeah. That's just ridiculous.
I have no words. I literally had no words, and I'm just like,
Music should be for the people, man. That's the whole point. It's just, who are you playing for then? What's the point of the live show?
It's crazy. In 1969, over 500,000 people gathered in Woodstock. 500,000 people paid $5-10 for their tickets. So Jimi Hendrix, Canned Heat, I mean, numerous other artists, including Janis Joplin, had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. No one died.
Yeah.
And it's not about like looking back at the past, like, oh, the hippie movement. It's ask yourself that question. We were able to gather 500,000 people
and make
in
something happen.
1969, right, for $5 or $10, which back then, okay, it was like $15-20. You know how much a festival costs down here in South Florida for 2 days?
Yeah, I know. So, you don't have to tell me, man.
Over $1,000. I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
Go online right
it's
now and check
crazy.
it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's a little whatever. I don't think that there's really much going on down here that is like, particularly here, because there's a lot of places that you can live and you can go to a local show for $5, $10, $20.
Oh yeah,
and it's
plenty,
like amazing, But out here, not really. You'll spend $15-20 to get in, and there's no sound guy, or the sound guy's like 10, or whatever. He looks 10 years old, and like it sounds like he's 10 years old because it sounds like fucking garbage. And I have some very strong feelings about how bad like local shows sound. I mean, I think about it like this, if I was someone that came out there, like we're all playing for each other. We're all playing for our friends. We come out, I go out. The only reason I go to shows anymore is to support my friends, which isn't good, because it's like the whole thing is like, it should be a show that's interesting so that people go because they want to be there. If you don't create that atmosphere of like, this is a show, and like we're putting something on, and this is a production, and then it's good, then why the fuck is anyone gonna go? Like, I mean, it's just like, I think that bad sound is like the recipe for our doom, because anyone that isn't from the scene and goes to a show, they spend $10-15 to get in, and then the sound is bad. It's like, what the hell is this? Like, what's going on?
That was kind of the beauty of that came out of the disco scene, was the prominence of disc jockeys, DJs, basically doing a showcase. People forget that when you go to a show and you have a DJ, they're showcasing their loops, progression, their sound, their vibe, their groove, to get you to dance.
Yeah.
And so many times I've seen where it's just the same crap, with a different color background, with some naked lady with a red splatter against her tits. I'm like, why? It's so easy to make a profit, but like, you're showcasing something, you got skill. It's like a waste. Do something with it, It's like, well, we do house. You can do so many versions of house. Well, like, I was in this version of house. You don't have to do that version of house. No one's telling you to do it. You can do a different version of it. You can try something else. Like, I feel like it doesn't take that much effort to try. I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned to me when you were making that song,
Mm.
there was that mistake, and then English, kind of figuring out how things go. Just being there, like, okay, 5 minutes, done. Okay, next.
Yeah.
Where is the creativity in that?
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think that the saddest thing is when someone's just got their phone or their computer and they just were like pressing play on tracks, on like their Spotify or something like that. But I will say Miami in particular, I feel like the DJs have it way better figured out than at least today, than the bands do. I mean, the DJs are kind of like they're taking off, man. I see national appeal in the DJ scene here, and I
Because
see large DJ artists. They make an effort to do what you're saying. Like they create an atmosphere. They've got a vibe. They've got a sound. They put a lot of effort. They buy vinyls or whatever their whole thing is. They're good at it, And so, where is that divide for the music scene here? I mean, I guess it's the venues, man. We just don't have venues. Like it's easier to put a DJ on for a venue. It's much cheaper than a band, especially for the returns we're getting. People, especially in the summer, it's dead out here. No one that doesn't live in Miami is in Miami. It's not really like the time
everybody
for tourists
leaves.
right now.
Everybody
Everyone leaves. Even the people that live, even the people that live here leave. Or they don't go out. I don't go out sometimes just because it's so hot, man. I mean, I don't want to be out in the heat at like 88 degrees at night, and it's like about to rain. And like there's so many like venues that are like outdoor,
and
like,
you're forgetting the humidity is like over 82% at night.
Yeah, man, I've had some of the most horrible nights of my life just like going to a show locally. Like, what do you think that does to people's minds? It's just like I don't ever want to go to a local show again. You know what I mean? Like how many people have thought that? They're just like, because it's all about social credit, right? Like you ask your friends like, hey, like come out here, support. What if they come out and support and it sucks? It's like you just wasted your social credit with them. And now they will never listen to your music. They're never gonna go to another show. They're never gonna check out the local scene. They're gonna be like, this is all shit. This is, bad experiences are bad for the scene, bad for everyone. And they're very like, I think we underestimate how visceral that is for people. And we think people will just take it in Miami. And it's like, why? Just build a fucking indoor outdoor venue that's indoors for the summer. God damn it. Like why did someone have to ask? Like, duh, it's hot. It's hot as hell. No one wants to be outside. This isn't gonna work in the summer, whatever.
But one thing I have learned, especially like me talking with you and talking with other artists, is like there are really great artists that are out here in South Florida that you're not going to find in other places. And the thing about good vibes, good chills, getting yourself to get on the dance floor, and have a good time. There's a lot to experience out here.
Yeah, totally. There's stuff here, man. It's just we don't have the support. We were talking about that, the support. Like where are we going with this, right?
I know.
How does this become a career for me? It's hard to say that here. It's hard to like have an answer down here. Yeah.
But eventually that's going to change.
I hope so, man. I mean, I hope so.
Well, I mean, once it does, things will be a lot different. The thing is, the New York scene is seen in LA. I mean, a lot of things that populated and changed, it didn't start overnight. It took time for things to start to develop. And I think one of the advantages we have is technology. The advancement of social media and all of this has really helped us develop.
Yeah.
Big question for you. For all the wonderful people that have made it this far, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening, yes. And thank you for having me.
Oh my God, yes. Where can people listen to your music? Where can they find your social media? And
so you can find me on social media at Instagram. I think Instagram's the best place. My TikTok sucks. I haven't figured that out yet.
Neither have I.
You can find me at I'm too much of a cusp millennial. I can't do it. So you can find me at Brennan, BRENNAN, Brennan and the Sun, on Instagram. And my music is everywhere. Brennan Jasso. You can find me. You can also find me with Brennan Jasso on anywhere. And yeah, man, there's nowhere you can't find me. If you look me up, you'll find me. So I hope if anyone's listening this far, I'm sure they are. I'm sure we have some really cool listeners.
Yes.
Because it's a cool podcast. So
And we got to hear two
yeah.
of your songs in this podcast, which I've kind of thrown music here before, but we're really big supportive artists, though. It was really great to like get your sound in here so all of us can get to listen.
Oh man, I appreciate this. I
Of
appreciate
course.
it all, and yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Well, listen, for anybody that wants to find the podcast, you know where to find us. We're at Lost in the Groove Pod, on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. With that, catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.